Hello, Tributes, and welcome to the second episode of Ashes of the Hunger Games. In this episode, we'll be going over the files of the 177th through 179th Hunger Games. I decided to upload this one today because I had just finished it a few moments ago and just decided to get it over with and record it. Anyways, I'd like to thank Christian Blanco and Lauren, who made Tales of the Hunger Games and Panem Reborn, respectively. Good luck, Tributes, and may the odds be ever in your favor. The 177th Hunger Games took place in the year 241 in the Tribute Graveyard. The weather was clear skies, the games lasted for 4 days, and the notable mutts were the ghosts of past tributes. After last year's games produced a highly loved Victor, even with his mental health issues, people in the capital wanted more Victors they would love, but with less mental health issues. This year, yet another career district would be picked for the extra tribute and will achieve victory. The victor this year was 17-year-old Benji Triton from District 4. When the gong sounded, Benji and his allies Eucalypta from 7, Furs from 7, and his district partner Coral ran into the cornucopia along with the official Career Alliance. In the first few minutes, Benji and his allies successfully killed the careers, much like last year. The next couple of days, Benji and his allies roamed through the gravestones in the graveyard and killed Alexa from 3, Crinoline and Burano, both from 8, and Abel from 12. On the dawn of the third day, Benji and Coral decided to turn on the Sevens. Coral and Benji used their tridents to attack and kill both Eucalypta and Furs. This gave Benji and Coral higher hopes for victory. After Benji and Coral killed Eucalypta and Furs, it was down to the top 10. These 10 included Battery from 3, Benji and Coral both from 4, Altair from 5, Bob and Cassie both from 6, Bran from 9, Bovo from 10, and Cardinal and Keresi both from 11. After this was announced, people all over the arena heard the sound of ghostly screams and yells of anger and screams of fear. This was revealed by the Capital TV producers that ghosts of past tributes were released into the arena. After a few minutes, tributes all over saw the ghosts of 5 very specific dead tributes. These 5 included Enobaria Golding, who died in the 76th Hunger Games, Cassio Cunningham, who died in the previous games, Christelle Delacroix, who died in the 111th Hunger Games, Octavia Dalton, who died in the 100th Hunger Games, and Cherry Tarrant, who died in the 85th Hunger Games. All 5 ghosts got kills, although Enobaria and Cassio got the most kills. Christelle killed Cardinal, Octavia killed Carissa, and Cherry killed Bran. Meanwhile, Enobaria killed Cassie and Bob, while Cassio killed Battery and Bovo. After this event went down, there were only 3 tributes left. These 3 tributes were Benji, Coral, and Altair. On the dawn of the final day, Coral tried to sneak up on Benji while he was asleep, but a misplaced stick was stepped on and alerted Benji to Coral's sneak attack. Benji got up and grabbed his trident, swinging it at Coral. He missed his intended target, and instead of hitting her, he disarmed her. After disarming Coral, Benji grabbed Coral by the sides of her head and slammed her head against a gravestone multiple times until her cannon sounded. After doing this, he stayed at the cornucopia and waited for his final opponent. When Altair arrived at the cornucopia, Altair was quite tired, and it wasn't a difficult fight for Benji to win. After Benji's victory, he returned home where he was celebrated for bringing victory to District 4. He was one of the prouder victors the first 5 games in the Ashes files. The trio of proud victors also included the victor of the next games and the victor of the 180th Hunger Games. Benji, much like Jack, victor of the 176th Hunger Games, lived in a relatively unconventional victor's village, living in a houseboat off of the coast of District 4. He also established his own training academy in District 4, known as the Triton NVPs. Here, Benji would teach potential tributes how to use unconventional attack strategies in the arena. He would eventually marry and have 5 kids. The 178th Hunger Games took place in the year 242 in Busch Gardens. The weather was slight rain, the games lasted for 1 week, and the notable mutts were wolves. After last year's victor killed both tributes from both Districts 1 and 2, the capital started to question the belonging of Districts 1 and 2 in the Career Alliance. This year, both Districts 1 and 2, along with Districts 5 and 8, would be selected to be the districts that would send in the extra tributes. This year's victor was 16-year-old Gleam Backrock from District 1. When the gong sounded, Gleam was surprised when the tributes from Districts 4 and 7 actually ran away from the cornucopia this year, leaving the cornucopia to be taken by the Career Alliance. Gleam had grabbed a knife and immediately stabbed the boy from 4 who was the only member of the Alliance with the 4s and 7s to run into the cornucopia. After the bloodbath, Gleam and her district partner Ardor went out hunting for tributes first, while the 2s and the District 1 extra tribute stayed and watched the cornucopia. After a few hours of hunting, Gleam was starting to get mad that they weren't finding anyone. Eventually, she decided to pull Ardor to the side and test something she wanted to test before. After not finding anyone, Gleam pulled Ardor to the side and started to seduce him, using the reasoning that this could be their last chance to do this. Ardor immediately agreed, and the two started to get intimate. Before they could finish up, however, Gleam infamously wrapped her legs around the throat of Ardor and choked him to death, which, much like Bluebell had done in the 21st Hunger Games. Gleam walked back to camp with a huge smile on her face. When she arrived at the camp, however, she saw Cassius, Rebecca, and Lewis, all from 2, lying on the ground dead, with Branson from 9 killing Chiron from 1. When Gleam saw this, she immediately ran at the pair of weaklings from 9 and tackled Branson to the ground, stabbing him in the gut with her knife. Gleam then looked at Maisie, who seemed terrified. Gleam then smirked and used the same tactic of seduction that she used to kill Ardor in order to kill Maisie. Gleam then ran to a roller coaster she saw nearby. This roller coaster was referred to as the Verbolten and was mostly an indoor roller coaster. Gleam figured people would be sleeping in the building, but she didn't account for where in the building they would be. When Gleam got onto the roller coaster, the cars started to move. Gleam smiled as the coaster cars started to move. The further into the building the roller coaster got, the closer Gleam got to the largest remaining group in the arena, the alliance between the tributes from 5 and 8. Eventually, Gleam noticed something on the track in front of her, or rather, someone. The tribute on the track in front of her was Boost from 5. By the time Boost noticed the coaster car coming right at him, it was too late, and the coaster car ran him over. When Boost Cannon sounded, it woke up Boomer and Casa, both from 5, and Ava, Buckle, and Kurtlin, all from 8. The group ran out into the open air and noticed that the car had stopped at the top of a track, and smiled, sitting down for a little while. After a few seconds, though, the track that the coaster had stopped on dropped, and the coaster dropped the coaster into a free fall, and then the coaster continued on its way. When the group noticed the coaster was still coming for them, Ava, Kurtlin, and Casa all managed to escape, jumping into the river below them. Meanwhile, Boomer and Buckle were too scared to jump into the river. This is when the coaster ran over the pair of boys and sounded their cannons. Gleam smiled at these bloody kills and smirked at the cameras as she got off of the roller coaster. After getting off of the roller coaster, Gleam went down to the river where she had seen the girls jump into. Just then, she saw Ava coming up for air, having hidden with the girls in the river. Gleam was surprised at how smart the girls had been to hide under the water, actually regretting needing to kill them. Gleam approached the water and killed Ava before she could go back down. Gleam was surprised when she felt a sharp pain in her leg, caused by Kurtlin, who sliced her knife across Gleam's leg. This did ultimately alert Gleam to her location, however, and Gleam swung her knife through the water and stabbed Kurtlin in the head, sounding her cannon. Casa crouched down lower in the water, putting herself deeper into the water as an attempt to hide from Gleam. This did not work, however, as Casa was slowly running out of air. Gleam decided to wait where she was until Casa came up for air, knowing that she'd have to. Soon enough, Casa was forced up out of the water to get some air. She then saw Gleam, and Gleam saw her. Gleam smirked and stabbed Casa in the face, killing her instantly. On the dawn of the last day, it was down to the top 3. Gleam from 1, Deota from 3, and Acropora from 4. This was the first all-female top 3 in a while, and the capital was excited to see it. When Gleam got to the cornucopia, she witnessed Deota killing Acropora. This kill surprised both Gleam and the capital, as Deota was a relatively weak girl compared to Acropora. Gleam glared at the weakling. Secretly, she had hoped that she would be the one to kill both tributes from 4. Gleam then ran at Deota and tackled her to the ground, forcing her knife into Deota's skull, making Gleam the winner. After the games, Gleam returned home, where she was seen as a savior among the District 1 citizens. She joined in on the teaching in one of the training academies already established in District 1. In this training academy, Gleam would teach how to seduce other tributes in order to get more fun kills for the capital. Gleam would agree to move to the capital a few months after her victory in order to become a stripper in the capital. After a few months of this job, Gleam would meet her future wife, and eventually the pair adopted 5 children together, and Gleam left her job in order to take care of the kids. The 179th Hunger Games took place in the year 243, in an abandoned ghost town. The weather was suspiciously dark, the games lasted for 6 days, and the notable mutts were the ghosts of past victors. After the victory of an extremely loved girl from District 1, the district had cemented its spot in the Career Alliance. Meanwhile, District 2 had been killed by the weaklings from 9 last year and needed to cement themselves in the Career Alliance before it was too late. This year's victor was 18-year-old Maximus Fox from District 2. When the gong sounded, Maximus immediately ran into the cornucopia and grabbed a sword. He then immediately turned and stabbed his district partner, Assassina, to death. He then continued by killing Bonito and Breeze, both from 4, Acacia and Banyan, both from 7, and Eris and Amaryllis, both from 1. This made Maximus the only remaining career tribute. The reason why he had done this is because he was turned down from the career alliance and was told that he'd be targeted, so he decided to kill them before they could kill him. For the next few days, which were dark enough to be nights pretty much, Maximus roamed around the arena and killed any tributes he came across. He mostly did this with decapitations. On the dawn of the final day, it was down to the final 5. Maximus from 2, Arcadia from 5, Auburn and Bobbin both from 8, and Abralada from 12. Maximus immediately ran to the cornucopia when he realized this. When he arrived, he witnessed Bobbin killing Auburn and then turning on his ally, Abralada. Maximus then noticed Arcadia sneaking up on Bobbin. He then watched the weaklings fight, trying not to laugh as he saw their weak swings with their weapons of choice. Eventually, Arcadia managed to kill Bobbin. She then looked around and didn't see anyone, so she thought she was the victor. Arcadia raised her hands into the air in victory, until she felt a sharp pain course through her body as Maximus stabbed her in the back, causing her to face-plant into the ground. Maximus then got onto Arcadia's back and told her to not get too cocky before stabbing her in the ass, and waiting a few seconds just so he could hear Arcadia's screams of agony, before stabbing her in the back of the head. After his victory, Maximus returned home where he was hailed as a hero of District 2 for saving their district's reputation. Maximus started teaching sneak tactics in the Dalton Elite for a few years, before switching over to teaching unconventional attack methods. He eventually met his future wife through the Dalton Elite, and he married her after they both turned 21. The pair had 4 kids together, 3 boys and a girl. So yeah guys, that's the end of the second episode of Ashes of the Hunger Games. The next episode will be more like how I wrote the 176th Hunger Games, and will only include the 180th Hunger Games. It will probably take me a bit longer to get the next episode out because of how long it's going to take me to write it, so I ask that you guys be patient with me for that. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to slap that like button, and as always, stay awesome. Goodbye everyone.